Welcome everyone to today's meeting. Glad to see you all returning. And without further ado, let's get started. I would like to call on our Toastmaster, Shrika.
Hi, I'm Toastmaster Shrika. I'd like to call on the grammarian, Mara, and grammarian and
As a grammarian, I will be looking for code words like, and etc. And for the word of the day is meticulous, which means showing great attention to detail. And in a sentence, it is even the most meticulous planning cannot foresee every eventually.
And our timer for today is Celsius.
As your timer, I'll be timing your speech, indicating the green, yellow, or red cards, and deafening in the length of your speech. That's it.
Our evaluator is Xavier Taylor, and our first speaker is
Kennedy, is this project number 2?
It's for project number 3.
Number 3, okay. So, project number 3.
Does the evaluator?
Yeah. Introduce your speech objectives.
Alrighty. So the first speaker will be Kennedy Jefferson, who I will be evaluating. She's on project number 3, which is one moment. Project number 3, which is get to the point, and I'll be overall evaluating her total speech over her body language, her preparation, the manual, like the lineup of what she's supposed to be doing, her vocal variety, collusion, transitions, body, and all of the main things. I didn't catch the title of your speech.
My speech was The Man Who Stopped World War III.
The Man Who Stopped World War III. So with that, I'd like to bring up our first speaker of the day, Ms. Kennedy Jefferson.
Thank you, Toastmaster Xavier. And today I want to tell you guys about the man who stopped World War II. His name was Vasily Arkhipov, and he was born in 1926 to a small peasant family in a town off the coast of Moscow. He grew up in a country that was still recovering from World War I and the Russian Revolution. So, like many young men of his age, he decided that the military would be a great way to both earn money and to serve his country. So he joined the Pacific Higher Naval School, and he graduated there in 1945, where he served as a minesweeper in the Japanese-Soviet War. He later transferred to another higher naval school, where he graduated in 1947. And he then joined the Soviet submarine fleet, served in the Black Sea, Northern, and Baltic fleets. By 1962, hope you don't mind if I take this off, he was already a well-respected and intelligent officer. However, his legacy was defined in 1962 during one of the most tense moments in human history, the Cuban Missile Crisis. It started when American spy planes flew over Cuba and saw Soviet missiles planted there. And President John F. Kennedy set up a blockade through Cuba to prevent any more Soviet ships from going there. The reason the Soviet leader placed missiles there is because the US had set up nuclear missiles pointed at Moscow in Italy and Turkey. So the Soviets sent out a secret group of B-59s, and our main protagonist, Vasily Arkhipov, was one of them. He was the flotilla commander of one of these B-59s, but the B-59 was soon spotted by an American Navy ship. Not knowing who the ship was or what they were carrying, the American Navy ship sent down depth charges to signal the ship to surface for identification. However, the captain of the crew, Valen Savinsky, did not take these depth charges as warnings. Instead, he took them as attacks. The conditions on the ship were less than ideal, with temperatures reaching about 122 degrees Fahrenheit. They were also completely severed from any connection towards Moscow as they were too deep underwater. They were told by Moscow leaders to launch the nuclear missiles at the American ships if they were attacked. He became emotional, the captain did, and he told them that we will die, but we will sink their ships, and we will not become the shame of the fleet. The nuclear torpedo they had in hand was special. It took 3 senior officers to be able to launch it. 2 of them agreed, including the captain, but Vasily did not. And this was not his first time interacting with nuclear war. Being exposed to nuclear substances. 1 year earlier, he was aboard the K-19, where it was built, obviously not very meticulously, as it soon suffered a reactor failure, irradiating all the crew. The captain sent 7 of their engineers to go and try to build a secondary coolant chamber. However, even though it was successful, all 7 of the engineers were irradiated and died within a month of acute radiation poisoning. 15 more of the crew members died within 2 years of the same thing, and Arkhipov later died to lung cancer, likely due to this as well. But even with his past experience with nuclear material, he still stayed calm and saw the situation for what it was. The depth charges were not hitting the ships and were wildly off target. He reasoned with the captain, saying that it was a warning shot and that they should surface and not launch the nukes. It took some convincing, but Arkhipov convinced the captain that if they did launch these nukes, then there would be no going back. At that time, the nuclear power of both the American and Russian fleets combined had enough power to surely destroy the whole world. So if they launched these nukes, hit an American ship, and started the war, it would be likely spell the end of all humanity. Even though the captain was emotional, Arkhipov was able to convince him to surface the submarine and go back to Russia. Even with all this, they were not treated like heroes when they got back home. They were treated with contempt, and the entire situation was covered up. Arkhipov never received recognition for his actions in his lifetime. It wasn't until 2017 where he was awarded the first Future of Life Award, which is given to those, despite great harm to themselves, made a choice that benefited the whole of humanity. Finally, 19 years after his death, Arkhipov was recognized as the hero that he rightfully was. He was a man through patience and resilience stopped the world from World War II. Thank you.
Now I guess I have to introduce speaker, evaluator, speaker 2? Evaluator. Okay. Evaluator 2 is Isaac Jefferson, and speaker 2 is Eric Shea.
Alright, thank you for that. Today I will be evaluating Eric's speech on addictions. This is his fourth speech, which is how to say it. So I will be evaluating him on whether the topic was appropriate for this assignment, whether he used clear, short, and simple words, if he used vivid, descriptive words that created mental images, his grammar, his usage of words, his filler words, and was his speech clean and properly organized. So Eric, come on up.
Okay, so addiction. What are addictions? Addictions are known as a neuropsychological disorder. Addictions is a condition when an individual is addicted to a substance or activity, even when it starts hurting them. It's not so much a case of loving a behavior, but when your brain reconditions to crave for it, and it's nearly impossible to quit. At first, the behavior or substance may bring us pleasure or comfort, but after a while, the brain relies on it in order to work normally. That's just because addiction hijacks the brain's reward system, flooding it with dopamine, a pleasure chemical. As a result, the brain's normal operation of feeling pleasure and normal activity diminishes, and addiction appears to be one's only source of pleasure. Over time, willpower weakens and desires take over, and in most cases can have catastrophic events such as destroyed relationships, poor health, loss of money, and mental pain. Anyone can become a victim of addiction, and it's not a case of a lack of willpower, but a powerful brain disease that can be nearly impossible to escape, even to oneself. What causes addictions? Addictions occur in the brain when it's processing reward and pleasure. As we're having fun doing something, a pleasure chemical called dopamine is released into our brain. Addictive activities and drugs overstimulate our brain with dopamine, and before long, even normal things don't sound good enough. Over time, our prefrontal cortex, which is like the part that keeps us alive, is compromised, and it's harder to say no. The amygdala, which handles emotion, and the hippocampus, which handles memories, gets involved, and addiction becomes necessary. The mind is completely wrong. Why are addictions hard to quit? Overcoming addiction is tough, since addiction is associated with physical and emotional dependence. The brain becomes so used to the jolt of dopamine that the discontinuation of the substance will surely bring withdrawal, ranging from anxiety and depression to nausea and dependence. Apart from this, there are triggers of desires caused by some kind of sights, people, or feelings. And that's exactly what happens if one always smokes when it's stressed. The brain connects stress with smoking, and that makes it even harder to quit. That is why an addiction can rarely be broken by simply deciding to quit. Is there a way to quit addiction? While one can stop an addiction, it can become a fairly daunting task to undertake, for one's brain is conditioned for desire for a substance or activity. For most, a simple no will not work. One will require a plan and direction. Therapy, such as CBT, is one of the best when it comes to putting an end to an addiction and triggers, thinking reorientation and problem solving and helping them. Fellowship groups such as Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous enable one to socialize with fellow strugglers in overcoming similar ills. Medicine and addiction to substance abuse helps in overcoming symptoms of withdrawal and curbing one's desires for such a substance effectively. Alternation in one's life through exercise, new recreations, and supportive social networks form a key part of rehabilitation. With proper planning and direction, overcoming addiction involves a lot of work and patience, but it's achievable. How do addictions impact our daily lives? Addictions can affect every part of our life, from health to relationships, work, and even mental well-being. Physically, substance addictions may lead to organ damage, lowered immunity, and even death. On the mental side, addiction may cause anxiety, depression, and loss of motivation. The addiction also puts pressure on familial and friendly relationships if trust is broken. In society, it may lead to job loss, financial problems, and even crimes. It has a tremendous impact, so early help plays an important role. Conclusion. Addiction is a powerful force that can overtake a life, controlling one's health, relationships, and well-being. Addictive behavior can be a substance, an activity, and both reprogram our brain, such that it is incredibly difficult to escape its life. But with guidance, one can overcome addiction with therapy and medication or one's willpower alone sometimes. To overcome addiction, one must educate oneself about addiction. One must educate oneself about addiction and for one's family and friends who suffer from addiction. By creating awareness and sympathy and not criticism, a society can become a platform for one to seek a transformation for new life and confidence.
Toastmaster is Kennedy Jefferson.
You want one?
While I did not volunteer for Table Topics Master last week, I will still do some impromptu table topics. So my first table topic is, if you had a choice, what animal would you completely eradicate from the face of the earth, and why? Do you think this would have any major impacts on whatever ecological system it's in? And for this, I'll choose Isaac.
I have waited so long to be asked this question. And I'm pretty sure every single person, all 8.5 billion people on Earth will agree with me, that mosquitoes have to go. They have to go. If anyone, I will give anyone $20 next week if they can name me one good thing mosquitoes are good for.
Birds eating. Yeah, that's sure.
That's, but birds can eat other stuff too.
I've heard of the Christmas stuff. Yeah. You can't let it go.
What good do mosquitoes do us? How do mosquitoes serve us? This is $20.
They make us more resilient.
That is true.
We all hate mosquitoes. Mosquitoes cause around 4 million deaths every year from diseases, especially Ebola, malaria, and other contagious diseases that they carry specifically in parts of the world like South Africa. And who likes being bitten at 3 a.m. while they're sleeping, only to get up, rub their body, putting on lotion, and feel a sharp sting of a mosquito bite? I cannot stand them. And if I had the chance, I would snap my fingers and eradicate mosquitoes like I would Thanos, and I would not look back, ever. I hate mosquitoes with a passion. Thank you.
This one's an interesting one. If you could make a completely new sport, what would it be? What would it be called? And how would you play it? This goes to Mr. Jason.
I was going to create a new sport after meticulous thought. Oh, that's tough. I like baseball, I like football, I like UFC. So let's combine them. You get a base hit, you got to wrestle the first baseman. If you steal second, you can lower the shoulder. If you get all the way around, you can cream the catcher like in the old days of baseball. So I guess I'd go back to the old school baseball, but I would have wrestling matches at each base. And if you're the size of a football player, you're very strong, so you would probably be able to crush most of your opponents, unless your other opponents were huge also. So then it's a toss-up. But I would then, since I'm starting the sport, I would hire all the best people and have the most dominant team in sports, make myself millions. Then I'd eradicate mosquitoes, like Toastmaster Jefferson. I'd play the sport in the fall when it's cool because I don't like summertime. I'm more of a wintertime kind of guy. Probably my body shape. But yeah, definitely that'd be my sport. We'll call it combat baseball. Thank you, Toastmaster.
If you were the president, what would be the first law you would make or change? Mr. Howard. Horace, sorry.
If I was president, what would be the first law that I would enact, or that I would sign? I think the first law that I would sign, if I was president, would be a holiday for all the kids that's in school. So the day that I become elected president, you guys will be out of school that day. Woohoo! But you have to work not only the regular school hours, but you have to be out of school after school for at least 2 hours to make up for the day that I gave you off. And here is why. When you take off time from school, most of the times the teachers have a very thought out lesson plan. And if the teacher is not able to present the lesson plan, then that means you are losing out on some of the educational material. So to ensure that I, as president, do not cheat you out of what your teachers have been working on so hard, I will ask that the day after you take off the first day when I become president, then you have 2 more hours added to your next day. And that's how I think I would respond as president if I was president. And besides, on that same day, I will make sure all the students have pizza because pizza is my favorite food. I will make sure every student have pizza for school. And I'll make sure it's in your lockers, it's in your lunch books, it's in your pockets. It's just pizza galore. I love pizza. I hope you guys love pizza. That's what you're going to get when I become president. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Horace. What's one food you find so disgusting that you refuse to believe that anybody actually likes it? Philosophy.
Well, I got many foods that I don't like personally, but if I were to choose one, probably Brussels sprouts. I don't care who you are, I don't care if you're the best chef in the world, there's no good way to cook Brussels sprouts, alright? I've eaten Brussels sprouts all my life and it's never tasted good. Another one is bitter melon. If y'all live in Asian households, bitter melon does not taste good. I'll tell you this right now, no matter how you cook it, if it's stuck, it does not matter. It will not taste good whatsoever. I think bitter melon should not be a food in the first place because it's so many in our dishes and it makes our dishes bad. But yeah, bitter melon. Thank you.
If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be and why?
If I were to choose one food that I would eat for the rest of my life, it would probably be a salad because you can put fruit, vegetables, and any stuff in it. I'd probably just put like a lot of food in it. And then I still have vegetables, so I think it would be healthy. And I really do like fruits, but I don't like vegetables. But my mom still makes me eat it. But yeah.
If you woke up tomorrow to find $1 bajillion in your bank account, what would be the first thing and the last thing you would do? Aaron.
Alright, so if I found $1 bajillion in my bank account, the first thing I would do is probably find a cave. No, matter of fact, I would buy 500,000 square feet of land in the Grand Canyon, right? And then I would dig it out. I would get an excavator, I would dig it all out, and then I would personalize it and make it a bat cave, right? And then I'm gonna purchase a Bugatti Chiron and then a Koenigsegg Jesko, right? I'm gonna paint it all black in carbon fiber and everything, right? And then open my Batmobiles. And then I'm gonna get a Boeing 747 and I'm gonna put it in all carbon fiber. And that'll be my bat thing, I guess. And then the last thing I would do is probably like pay scientists to make an immune juice supplement. And then like I hope I don't get an addiction from it. And then I hope that I can live forever and then be Batman forever.
If you never had to sleep again, or never had to eat again, which one would you choose? And remember, both of these are optional. Sure.
If I had to choose between never have to sleep again and never have to eat again, I would choose never have to sleep again. I cannot tell you how many times I have felt tired in somebody's lecture, and especially Miss Matthews, like especially algebra, I will doze off completely. I will not know what she's talking about. So, and then when I get back from home, I have to do all this work, and then I'll probably sleep off right after that. So, I guess I'd just be more productive. It's not sleeping, so I choose not sleeping.
You had to spend 100 days in the Amazon rainforest or 100 days in the Sahara Desert. Which one would you choose and what would you eat, Michael?
If I had to choose between 100 days in the Amazon rainforest versus 100 days in the Saharan desert, me personally, I would choose the Amazon rainforest. Now, I wouldn't do this on my own or for free either. Instead, I'll be part of a biologist expedition where we go and study all the plants and animals. That way, I'll have something interesting to do and people to keep me company. Hopefully, never mind, we're scientists, we get paid nothing. So we'll probably be eating really crap rations every day. However, I'm sure the variety of life that we will get to learn about in the rainforest will make the trip very worthwhile for me. Although I don't plan to be a biologist, I certainly love learning about life in general, and biology is always a fun subject to explore. So that's what I would do. Thank you.
I'm sorry, that is all of the table topics I can think of right now, so that will conclude our table topic session.
Somebody can have more? Can somebody bring more to the topics? Yeah, we have more time. And I have more people haven't spoken yet.
Yeah. Yesterday at the Chinese Lunar Festival. Tell me about your experience. Yeah?
They have a Chinese New Year festival.
Tell me about what you did. Tell me about the experience. What you did and what things and what you saw.
Yesterday at the Chinese New Year festival, it was really fun. They had good food. Good. The show's really good. When I was performing the dance, at first I was nervous. But then I got over the fear. I had the one boba and the egg roll. Okay.
Tell me about your dream job. What's your name? Emma?
My dream job would be an ophthalmologist because many people in the world have trouble with their eyesight. If I became one, I could discover solutions and help the world. My brother has glasses, and so do my mom and dad. If I were an ophthalmologist, I could study eyesight and things related and help them, and also maybe help the world.
All four.
What is your favorite subject in school and why? What is your name?
Gia.
Favorite school subject and why?
My favorite school subject out of all the subjects is math because in math they don't go that complicated. Even though it gets complicated as it goes, you just have to understand the concepts and just apply it to whatever problem you have. And I'm able to get good grades in it. And I'm not able to like fail the subject or anything. So I think math would be like my favorite subject because I'm able to like get hundreds and I'm able to like pass it. And I kind of enjoy it too because I have friends and I get to sit next to someone who I'm able to talk to. So I think that's why math is my favorite subject.
That's good.
So, I guess I'll start out and then I'll pick someone to ask the table topics question. Alright, so my table topics question is what do you think is the best kids cartoon of all time and why? Tim. And your answer determines whether we kick you out or not.
Oh shoot. I know there's an answer, but I've probably forgotten it. It's been a while since I've watched kid cartoons. Okay, PBS Kids. And then in PBS Kids, I would have to say something I watched a lot, Wildcats. Best show ever. Like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be him. They were my role model. I saw him like turn into a cheetah, I was like, that's gonna be me in the future. I can do that. I'm gonna like develop a suit and then become like anything. And low-key, if you think about it, they're in a flying turtle. And they're turning into animals. And you also get to like learn stuff, kinda. Actually. Yeah, you learn some stuff in there. So I'd say that show's pretty good. There was one more show. I don't remember if I liked it or not, but it's that one tiger dude, that like little train thing. Yeah. That one's. I remember watching that a bunch, but I don't know if I like that. It always seemed kind of creepy to me. Like it's just a dude that's like a tiger, but he kind of. Something felt off about that show, but I say Wildcats was my favorite overall. Best show there. Good show.
So now that you're done, you get to pick someone who hasn't already spoken and asked in the table.
Oh, sorry. Can you repeat that? Okay. The table topics. Okay. I have a controversial topic for you.
Wait.
Oh, he used to ask? Okay. You can come up with that.
If you could have any electronic in the world, I would choose an iPhone because I can talk to anyone in my family, even from far away distance.
So now,
If you wrote a book, what would the book title be?
If I write a book, what would the title be? I think the title would be How to Do a Goofy Dance. The reason being is, first of all, I like to dance, and I'm not a master of it, but I think I'm a master of the goofy dance. I sometimes just kind of make a really big move just to kill calories, and that feels really good. I can get my daughter to join me too. There are several things you can do with the goofy dance. First, you have to have a mindset to be goofy. If you're serious, you can do it. And second of all, you cannot do goofy dance when you are hungry. You have to have some energy. So to sum up, yes, how to do a goofy dance is the book I'm gonna write. And I think that's the time for our table talk session. And thank you all very much for the table topics and the answers and the suggestions. We are all have the opportunity to speak. So that's great. Thank you. Now,
If this is something that we like, we can probably pick a week once a month, you can do it.
yeah, I think go for it. Yeah, it's a great format, great idea. And I would like to bring our postmaster back to introduce the general evaluator. The general evaluator is Mr. Horace.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I, so let me start by stating the purpose of the general evaluator, since we have a couple of minutes, right? So the purpose of the general evaluator is to evaluate everything that takes place throughout the meeting, right? So during the meeting, the general evaluator takes notes on things that happen really well, and some things that maybe doesn't happen so well. In addition to that, the general evaluator, or I am to look at how well the meeting was organized and how each speaker, whomever gets up to speak, how well they deliver their answers or whatever the story, the case may be. But at the end of the meeting is where we are now, where I'm to give that report. So a couple of things that the general evaluator would typically do, he, along with the sergeant at arms, may make sure the room is set up in time and that the room is at a good, comfortable temperature. That's one of the kind of physical things that the general evaluator is responsible for. But for more important to where we are now, the general evaluator is to introduce the functionary roles. For instance, I know we have a grammarian, I know we have a timer, so I'm going to pick it up right there. So as a general evaluator, I should call now on the grammarian and have the grammarian to deliver the grammarian's report. I don't see who the grammarian is, but if the grammarian is there, could the grammarian please identify yourself
First
and
evaluator, Horace. First evaluator, Xavier.
okay, excellent. And that's where I was going next with it. I was going to bring up the evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. So first, I had to evaluate Ms. Kennedy's speech. So here's how it went. First up, we had our opening. It started off great. It was a clear opening, pretty concise. I give her about a 5 for the opening. Next up was her body, although it was a bit lengthy, if you will, and since it was more of an informative speech to me, I still each part was easy to follow. So I'll give her also a 5 for the body of her paragraph or her speech. So next up was her transitionals. She used good transitional phrases through each spot whenever she was moving on to her next point or paragraph. So I'll give her a 5 for the transitional phrases. Next was her vocal variety. The speech was somewhat monotone. She varied a bit, but stayed in around the same range. So I'll give her a 4 for the vocal variety. Next up was her language usage. So I'll give her a 5 for good uses of language. I didn't catch any filler words, and she just flowed throughout the speech pretty well. Next up would be her eye contact. I seen her when I was looking up to evaluate. I seen her looking at everyone through the crowd, surveying the audience. So I give her a 5 for great eye contact. And through her body language, I would say she did move around a little bit while she was also looking at the audience. But since she had her notes in her hands, some of the time, after she glanced down at her notes to see what her next point was, she put her hands down with her notes. And with that, she didn't really use her hands too much from when I was gauging it. For the engagement, I say since it was more of a again, since it was more of an informative speech, it weren't too wasn't super engaging where come into the audience and you ask them a question or something. So I gave her a 4 for the engagement. And next up was her preparation. And since she had her notes there, she seemed, like I previously stated, she seemed to glance at them to see what her next point was, but she wasn't just sitting there reading them the entire time. Now, I would say throughout some of it, she was mid thought and then she paused to look back down at it, but that's all right. So this is only her third speech, so she did a great job there. Overall, on about a 50-point scale, I give her 44 overall for the speech. Is it bad? And for the recommendations, I'd recommend since her speech was a little more informative, if she were to give another informative speech, I would say maybe add like a joke or something in there to engage a bit more with the audience. Also, I'd recommend a little more vocal variety, maybe boom or jump at the audience or something, just to gain more traction with them. But overall, Kennedy had an excellent speech, and that would be back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you so much for the wonderful evaluation. Now let me call on, I believe, the second evaluator with Mr. Isaac.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. General Evaluator. Now, Eric's speech was another informative speech today on addictions. And I felt like overall it was a pretty concise, pretty informative speech. He got his point across well, and well, I'm pretty sure he taught us all something new today. And that is to not get addicted and check yourself before you do get addicted to any substances or any activities. Now, some stuff that I do feel like you could improve on were your pauses and most of all your body language. I kind of felt like you weren't engaging with the audience eye contact wise, and you were kind of just standing right here looking at your computer. Now, for this one being your fourth speech, that's fine, but I guess that also shines a light on how important it is to prepare. And one tip I do have for that is to record yourself doing a speech, watch it back, and see what you can improve on. That is one tip that helped me out a lot during my speaking. Kennedy does it all the time, and that has improved her speaking greatly. So I feel like that is something that not just he could, I can't talk. That is something that not only he could implement into his speaking, but that we could all implement into our speaking. And you will see the quality of your speeches skyrocket. It's proven. Now, something else I do feel like Eric could improve on is his audience engagement. Not just eye contact and body language, but throwing a few jokes in there. We like the classic, the witty Eric, the funny Eric. So that would really, I feel like that would really set your speech apart from the rest. But overall, your speech was very informative. You got the point across well. You crossed majority of the boxes I see here, effectively organized, the purpose was clear, and overall, you had a really great speech. So, thank you.
Excellent job. Excellent job. Now let me call on the timer for the timer's report.
So for our timer's report, we'll start with the speeches. So your speeches were supposed to be from 5 to 7 minutes. Kennedy, your speech was 5 minutes and 31 seconds, so good job on that. Eric, your speech was 4 minutes and 21 seconds, you're close. For table topics, each speech should be 1 to 2 minutes. Isaac, your speech was 1 minute and 23 seconds. Mr. Jason, your speech was 1 minute and 22 seconds. Mr. Horace, your speech was 1 minute and 50 seconds. My speech was actually 34 seconds. I gotta work on my speeches. Preco was 40 seconds. Eric, you were 1 minute and 4 seconds. Shrika, your speech was 32 seconds. Michael, your speech was 47 seconds. Diana, your speech was 1 minute and 17 seconds. Emma, your speech was 35 seconds. Gia, your speech was 34 seconds. Tim, your speech was 1 minute and 13 seconds. Sorry, what's your name? Okay, Arjun, your speech was 9 seconds. And Miss Ann, your speech was 1 minute and 6 seconds. And for our evaluations, we're supposed to be 2 to 3 minutes. Xavier, your speech was not speech, but evaluation was 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And Isaac, your evaluation was 2 minutes and 3 seconds. Good job, everyone.
Excellent job. Now let me call on the grammarian. The grammarian.
So for the speeches, Kennedy, you had 0 filler and you used the word today. Eric, you had 0 filler words and you used the word today. Isaac, you had 0 filler words. Mr. Jason had 1 filler word. Mr. Horse had 0. Wasia had 0 filler words. Rika had 0 filler words. Eric had 1. And Sharika had 1 filler word. Michael had 0. Deanna had 0. Emma had 0 filler words. Gia had 0. Tim had 0. Arjun had 0. And Anna had 2. For the evaluators, Xavier had 0 filler words, and Isaac had 1 filler words.
Excellent job. And only one more report. That's the general evaluators report, and then I'll hand it back over to the club president. So as a general evaluator, first let me apologize because I was a minute or two late. It'll never happen again. But from there, the way the meeting was handled from the Toastmasters calling up each of the evaluators, and each evaluator came forward to introduce or give the objectives of the speeches that we heard today. That was well done all the way. I really like the way you kind of impromptu got through the table topics sessions, right? We had one table topics master, and then collectively traded off table topics masters or table topic questions. That was very very interesting, and I really liked that piece. The table topics questions in themselves were very interesting, especially the one about winning or finding a huge sums of money. That seemed to have gotten everybody's attention. Overall, and then, of course, the reports that we just had, right? Excellent reports. So, in general, or should I say overall, I think this meeting, and as it has gone now for quite some time, you guys are has gelled together, and you all understand the role and what we're supposed to be doing here. Most of you guys get up and speak loudly. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to hear some of you, but overall, I could tell for those of you who are there, you don't have any problem hearing each other. So maybe I will ask Xavier to attend there in person, since Xavier wants to meet everybody. So next week, Xavier may join you guys in person because he's been asking, Dad, can I go? And I said, yes. So I will make sure I hold his hand and walk him over there next week. You guys will love him. He's a blast. Trust me. And he'll tell you all about his Air Force Academy because he's still considering that and that's a really good thing. Other than that, that's all that I have for today. I'm going to turn it back over to the club president. Or is it the Toastmaster? And then the Toastmaster can bring up the club president. I think that's the way it goes. Sorry. So back over to the Toastmaster.
I'm calling Mr. Isaac James.
Thank you for that, Ms. Toastmaster. Overall, great meeting everyone, and me and Ms. Anna have made the decision that since everyone seemed to enjoy the new format of table topics, once every month, we're not sure if it'll be first week or the last week, we will do that table topics method where each person gets to pick a table topics and they will pick someone to speak, so everyone gets a chance to ask a table topics question. First week. Fireworks. All right.
And also, Anson is back. Anson was in the club.
Returning. Everyone clap it up.
Yeah. Anson, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Anna. Thank you, Mr. President. So, hi, I'm Anson. Many of you might know me like the older kids, but yeah, I'm back. Hopefully I can spend more time while trying to balance high school life with Toastmasters. So, yeah, I'm happy to be back.
Thank you for that. I also see that a lot of the new people are getting involved. We love to see it. I want to say this is my third year doing Toastmasters, and so far this is the most active group of new members that I've seen, which is always great to see. So we're hoping next week we might see a few more of you start to speak up more and do speeches, because that would be amazing for everyone.
I think Arjun hasn't introduced himself. You want to introduce yourself? What school? You're fine. You want to introduce yourself? What school and what grade?
My name is Gavel. I go to Memphis.
I used to go to Gavel when I was younger. And the most exciting thing, we will hopefully be seeing Xavier next week. Everyone give a big clap for that. All right, this concludes.
Next week's speaking roles.
All right,